Thought were really good questions by the ranking member and this interchange. Because I was taken also by two things: the importance of getting the production tax credit, the ITC, and also the personal income tax credit for the solar and the 45L, Section 45L allowance continue to maybe even increase from $2,000. But I was taken by what you said earlier. There's this crossover point that as prices go up and the cost of solar energy come down, that more and more people will be turning to you. But I guess to his point, to some degree, we'd all like to get that price going up to come down because people are hurting out there at the cost of energy, and just making you more likable to come to isn't the only goal. It's how to make you less affordable. But we didn't speak much about R&D tax credits, therefore. So my first question is, how often does a house turn over on average? Someone told me what it was in one hearing, but when you own a house, how long do you keep it?
Typically about 7 years.
7 years is what I got told also before. So to make you solar energy to be attractive, there's this more important point, I think, is how much how much you pay for that house with this solar energy, but you only got a 7-year turnover point. That's, to me, the more driving factor, and that drives the best in development incentives we should be aiming to make solar energy less expensive. Not more attractive just because mass production and stuff, but what's that R&D? Is it nanotechnology or what?
I think right now you can look at the venture capital community has invested a lot in technologies, and in my testimony I summarize a couple of them. One is, for example, thin film, which is actually a very exciting company based in Toledo, Ohio, called Sunlight, spelt with a Xunlight, which is a representative example for a new form of solar modules that will drive the cost down. And they got some, I think, some R&D money from the state of Ohio, the University of Toledo, and whatnot. So
federal?
I think
any federal R&D?
I'm not aware of much federal.
Do you have any
R&D.
proposals for federal R&D?
I would
got your ones here
the
for
state.
the tax incentives, but how about R&D, federal?
Well, again, I would refer to my colleagues at the Solar Energy Industry Association on that particular point. I will point out that the extending the ITC, in a sense, is triggering capital investment that goes in the things you want to end up at. So I think let's not lose sight of, from a federal policy perspective, the ITC is basically stimulating more demand and creating more certainty, and that's what people in Silicon Valley want to see. I mean, I spent New York yesterday with 4 sets of investors, and if we had an ITC passed in place today, the tenor of our conversation would have been more focused on how much money do you want to raise and where to deploy it, as opposed to, yes, you have a great business, there's an opportunity,
Right.
but what about the ITC?
If I could, on the wind side, you cost, I think, about 5 cents per kilowatt hour, but the standard for electricity across the nation is 0.12 or something, 1.2 cents or something. I mean, what is the research and development to get you down to being commensurate, unless my figures are wrong?
Yeah,
I mean, you're tremendously improvement from, 80% reduction since the 80s and all. But what's the,
Right. I mean,
so this is even more affordable rather than
yeah, we
crossover.
do have a research and development agenda, and I'd be happy to provide that for the record. I'm not too knowledgeable in the details, but I want to be clear that if you're looking at new electricity, which is really where the question is bringing something new online, that we are competitive with new gas and new coal at this point when you consider the uncertainty about the carbon pricing and coal, and that's
No,
one
your points are
reason.
well taken. I did not mean this in that sense. I'm just curious what can drive energy overall down. Overall, can I ask you one other question, maybe off? Is your new? There's leads. What's the difference between leads and this new national standard that NAHB is moving towards? And are environmental groups also involved in that consortium that's putting this national standard together?
There's, I guess, 2 points. The LEED program is pretty expensive, and
But some people think it's a good marker I'm not arguing this way, it might be expensive.
It's the new National Home Builders Green Building Program has had actually a representative from LEED and other organizations to put this program together, which was very helpful. But we actually personally built a LEED home this year, so I'm very familiar with the LEED process. But it was very expensive, and the new National Home Builders Program is to help with to make it more affordable for both the builder and the buyer, and then and not have so many constraints towards what you need to do to get the certification. So, but there are other. This is the national program. Other associations locally, state and local, are also coming up with their own programs as well.
Thank you. I was just asking because there might be different standards out there soon, and who pushes what, and is it environmentally good but too expensive, or what's the cost? Not quite as good environmentally. I guess that'll be a challenge. But thank you. I'm out of time. So.